Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Krista Jones. I am the marketing manager here at St. Camillus. Thanks for joining today's webinar called The History of Our Founder, St. Camillus de Lellis. Today we have a few special guests with us hosting our webinar. We have Father Pedro Tramontin. He is the president of St. Camillus and provincial delegate of the USA Camillian delegation. Father Pedro, do you want to wave again? Sorry.
Hi, yeah, good
Father
afternoon, everyone. So,
We have Father Jojo Orosa, Director of Pastoral Care and CPE Coordinator at St. Camillus. And then we also have Father Matthew Perumpel, who will be joining us in a little bit, and he is the Director of Mission Integration at St. Camillus. And today you'll kind of hear three different parts. You'll learn about St. Camillus himself, his incredible life story, the Order of St. Camillus, and the USA Camillian delegation. So to start off, Father Pedro is going to go through the history of our founder. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Father.
okay, so good afternoon again. It's really a pleasure for me to talk about our founder, but please, Chris, control us if we go too much because we get so excited when we are talking about our patron, and I hope that the time permit us to go through the presentation that we prepare for you. So I call it San Camillus de Lellis, an extraordinary life, because really it's an amazing history. I remember that I think I was about 15, 16 years when I first read his history, and really touched me. And after that, really I thought more seriously about engaging the religious life. And later on, thinking about we call Saint Camillus or Saint Camillus, that doesn't mean that the person is perfect and never make any mistake and so far. Just to clarify, a saint for us in the Catholic Church means that is somebody that is an example for us. Saint Camillus de Lellis has a difficult life in the beginning, and then he experienced God and have a conversion. And that after the conversion, he dedicated himself totally to serve the poor and the sick, and became an example for us. And that's why I call really extraordinary life. And somebody said that he was a sinner, a soldier, and a saint. So it's a walking through. But anyway, so I'm happy to be here today, and I invite you all to go back in the 15th century, and I'll pay you a trip to Italy today, a round trip, going back forth, but it's a virtual tour for sure. But we have to go back there because there where St. Camillus was born in Italy. And I will start moving the slide. But first of all, St. Camillus is the patron of the sick. So in the Catholic Church, that means a lot. All over the world, St. Camillus is the patron of the sick. The hospitals, doctors, nurses, and healthcare works. So it means a lot, really, because involved so many people that work in the healthcare field. So this is really a big deal. So I start moving here for the second slide. So that is the trip that we have to do from North America to Europe. Just to localize here, we have Italy to contextualize, and the region 12 or 13 is where St. Camillus was born. It's called the region of Abruzzo, or in the city called Buccianico. So here is the city called Buccianico. So I was there so many times I can talk with my heart there because it's a beautiful small city in the top of a mountain. And that big one there is an hospital. And here is another view of the city. Is surrounded by basically by olive trees that produce oil and the olive. So when you go there, you have a very fresh olive street. There is a square dedicated to San Camilo de Lellis, and here is still the house where he was born. So it's still there. We can visit. There is the lower level and then the second level where they live. Actually, he was born in the first level that is considered like a stable where they used to have the animals. And then come the similarity to Jesus. Jesus also was born in a stable, so it's a great similarity. We have a community there. There is about 6, 7 priests, Camillian priests there that they take care of a parish and the hospital and other activities in the area. There is also this house that we use for our meetings, the international meetings, but then the order grow a little more in with these last years. So now it became too small to make our general chapters there, but we still use it. It's a spirituality center where we have retreats and so forth. So in this area, St. Camilo was born, but then after his conversion, he moved to Italy, to Rome, and that is the church. And connect here is our general house that is about, I would say, 40 rooms there. I lived here. I have the privilege to live here for about 6 years. When I was younger, I was a student. I made a theology in Italy, and I live in this house and I work part time in this church, especially on the weekends. We have masses and so far. It's very, very beautiful church. I can show you some pictures. This is the inside. Is it's the They say that is the second best church in Italy by the sound, and we have a beautiful piano where they play, and it's amazing. I love this church. This is the sacristy is so beautiful, and I don't recall in English what did they call it, but it's a kind of perspective, and it's so beautiful. And also in this church, we have the upper part where San Camilo lived, was the room where he passed his last days. And for us now is a chapel where that community pray together. We have some chairs around when the normal days. And here is the heart of San Camilo. So we still have the heart of San Camilo and is conserved in this, I don't know, reliquary. So for more than 400 years, and his art is still there, still pretty much alive. Yes, there is some other relics. And this is the tomb where his body is resting. This tomb is in the church. Then everybody can go there. We can open this part here and we can see the remains of San Camillus there. This is some of the portraits of Saint Camilo that we use, but the most common is this one. Is represented with Jesus because he taught us to take care of the sick as taking care of Jesus. So that's why he is represented by this. So a little bit about his infance. He was, this is represent the mother of Saint Camilo. She has a dream, and she dreamed with a young person in front of a group wearing the Red Cross. And probably she shared with him this idea And later on, the Red Cross became our distinctive or the distinctive of the order. So all over we have the Red Cross in our habit and everywhere is our symbol. So he has a difficult infant because he lost his father when he was 13 years old. No, a little later on. Then he joined his father when he was 18, and his father was a soldier, and he became a soldier also. And then he lost his father. And St. Camillus understood the meaning of the illness himself. He was sick too. He has a plague in his leg for so many years, and he experienced the suffering himself. He was working, then later on he was addicted of games and he lost everything, and then he started working in a place that wasn't really an hospital, but he was there, and actually he was expelled from there because of the addiction of games, playing cards. But then he said that he was forced to beg for alms to survive, and he worked here and there. Finally, he found a Franciscan friar called Father Angelo, a Capuchin friar who advised him and helped him to change life and so forth. Then he experienced the conversion. That was a great day, and he always remembered that was in February 2nd, 1575. At this point, he was with 25 years old already. So after that, then he started work again in the hospital and made a lot of different rules to take care of the sick, because on that time, basically those who take care of the sick was those who were in prison. So you can imagine what kind of treatment they received as to pay their for their faults. They have to take care of the sick because nobody wants to take care of them because there was contagious and we have plagues and so far. But then he started writing some new rules that until today they are valid. Just to give you an example, when the patient arrived in the hospital, the first thing that they do was a bath. So cleaning, hygiene, that today is so important in all the hospital. The second thing was to have a bed where they could rest and recover, and then have a good food that could help them to restore the energy. And then also the spiritual. On that time, they talk about confession. So, but you understand today is the spiritual side of this that was important for him. And the most important thing was to take care of them with love. That was where he beat on all his confrere, and that changed the view of taking care of the sick people. So he experienced many difficulties in the beginning. Not everybody understood what he was doing on that time, and he experienced those difficulties. But there was a chapel in the hospital, and he went there to pray, and he has this vision, or we call mystical vision, that Jesus talked to him, saying, "Take courage, faithful hearted one. Continue the work you have begun. I'll be with you because it is my work, not yours." So then, since then he took courage and went on and um, start this new congregation, new religious order that we are called today. So we still have this crucifix is in our mother house, in our generalate in Rome, and that was precisely the crucifix that was in the chapel on that time. It's very dear for us, and always that we go there, we pray for him too. Anyway, so following them, he started, he's doing this work in a hospital that is still there in Rome, in the hospital called St. John's Hospital. But also he was working around where he found sick people, poor people he was helping. And this created this new idea because people were afraid, and he was not afraid to go to meet them, to feed them, to help them. And suddenly this religious affiliation that he was founding started growing because many people were amazed by the work that he was doing. So he did mostly this work, bodily work, but then also he went back to school to study to become a priest. He was about 30 years already, and so has a courage to go back to school to study to become a priest, because he understood that we have to take care of the body and the spirit together. So, and a combination of both that is important. Many times the sickness are from psychological or spiritual origin. So that was when he went back. Then he uh, really started wearing a habit, and later on he received from the Pope the Red Cross as a symbol for our religious company that he called that time. So that is the biggest thought that San Camilo have, to serve Christ as we are serving the sick person, and to be Christ for them also. So there is a double dimension. Being Jesus for them, but also seeing them Jesus is something really new on the theology of the church. So he worked in hospital and homes. So today we are talking about home care as something new. St. Camillus did this already in the 15th, 16th century already. So it's something really interesting that was distinguished by that. He died then in Rome, and on that time the congregation was all over Italy already. Wasn't it yet outside of Italy, but in all Italy there was some. If I'm not wrong, there was 17 communities already open in Italy. So this was a portrait when we celebrate the 400th anniversary of his death. So he was born in 1550 and died in 1614. So his life is an example that inspired many people around the world, including me. I will stop here. There are so many other things, but this gives you an idea. And from now on, I will pass on to Father Matthew so he can continue. I will stop my sharing, then Father Matthew can go ahead. Okay. Oh, you're mute, Father. So you are mute, Father. So we are not hearing you, Father.
Sorry, I was on mute.
Yeah.
And so, good afternoon. It's a great joy to be sharing with you a little bit about the history and the tradition of Saint Camillus. Father Pedro gave us a great sharing about who Camillus was. And I will share now how the Camillus order, Saint Camillus order, we call it the Order of the Ministers of the Sick, was founded through Camillus and continued to be living that charism or the gift or the mission Camillus entrusted with the we call now the chameleons. So we heard about the founder. He is actually, after his conversion in 1575, he was planning to be a friar or a capuchin. And when he joined the capuchin, he went to the novitiate, entered the novitiate, and during that time, the capuchin habit he wore and a wound on his leg made him to visit the hospital to be cured. And it happened 3 times. So he actually went twice from the novitiate to be healed, but that wound really never fully healed. So the third time he came back to the hospital, St. James Hospital, and there he understood maybe the Lord is calling him for something else. And in 1582, so the real founding of the order started in 1582 on the eve of the feast of the Assumption, August 15th, so August 14th evening, he felt the call to start a company of pious men to serve the sick. And that's how the Order of St. Camillus in a way started. So it was known as the Company of Pious and Good Men. And they were basically the companions with Camillus in that hospital. They wanted to serve the sick people with whatever they could. They were not trained professionals, but they were good-hearted men wanting to take care of the sick people. So that is the humble beginning of the Order of St. Camillus. In 1586, this new foundation was approved by the church. Pope Sixtus V was the pope at that time as a religious congregation. In 1591, then when you are approved as a congregation, there are some rules, but then they have to go through more scrutiny by the church, and the congregation was raised as an order by the Pope Gregory XIV with the name Order of the Ministers of the Sick, and Camillus was elected as the first superior general, founder and general. So till 1591, Camillus was the founder. From 1582 to 1591, and then 91, he became the general of the order. Then the spread of the order in the subsequent years, it grew very fast because this example of Camillus and the Camillus fathers and brothers really attracted so many religious, so many people to serve sick in their homes and in the hospitals. So by the time Camillus died, we had 16 houses, communities, and 311 religious, and some of them were actually dying during the plagues of that time. So this is an amazing start, actually, how Camillus was inspirational, and he was known as, now today we say, as the Mother Teresa of that time. Very popular because of his exemplary life dedicated to the sick people. In 1699, as we look at the spread of the order, there were 428 religious, 37 houses, 6 provinces. The institute had reached the top of its growth in 1783, when it had 666 professed religious and 66 houses. There were 6 provinces by then: Rome, Naples, Sicily, Milan, Bologna, and in Spain they had founded in 1643. And 2 vice provinces. Actually, they had also gone to South America and Portugal by then. The Spanish province started in they opened this mission in South America in 1704. And in 1736, the first community in Peru was established. But some of those missions actually had to discontinue because of the political changes or the war that happened. And there was also an interesting attempt to start a mission in India, in Goa, in 1781, when some of the chameleons were sent to Portugal, and they were preparing to go to India, but because by then the changes in the colonial situation made it impossible for them to travel to India, and so that plan never materialized at that time. 1842, Father Camillo Bresciani, he joined the chameleons, and a new life for the order started. Actually, that was the beginning of the Lombardo Veneta province, which is North Italy. This has a very significant historical moment because they became really like the second founding of the order, Lombardo Veneta. And Father Camillo Bresciani really renewed and brought a new life to the order at that time. Due to the socio-political situation and the suppression of religious orders in Europe, you had the Spanish War, you had the Napoleon time when all the religious orders were suppressed, and then also the Italian unification. And so there were a lot of issues between the period of 18th century to the early 20th century. So if you look at from 666 professed religious in 1783, we have in 1882, the order had only 85 perpetually professed members. So, and just 4 provinces. That actually showed how the political situation and the social changes made the order so small. Another factor that the chameleons did not flourish or grow big is the plagues and the 4th vow of the chameleons. St. Camillus, when he founded the order, we took a 4th vow and asked all his brothers and fathers to take the 4th vow to care for the sick, even in danger to our lives. And through the various plagues in the 17th and 18th century, we lost some 300 religious. So it was really a challenging time. And, especially now as we go through the pandemic, it's very heartening to reflect on the founding times and the unique charism or the mission of the chameleons, that they take this 4th vow to take care of the sick, even in danger to their lives. The recent experience was when Ebola hit Africa, chameleons were there, and because this is where we are supposed to respond. When AIDS became a big problem in the world, chameleons opened up many centers. There was a time when we had more than 50 centers or hospitals to care only for HIV and AIDS patients. And we used to run leprosariums for leprosy patients, TB sanatoriums. They are still continuing in certain developing nations. So I think this is in this context we talk about the chameleon missionary movement, especially in the 20th century, which actually was started by the Lombardo Venetian province. This province reconstituted and re-energized the chameleon mission to flourish again through the different missionary enterprises. So in 1922, Father Alfonso Maria Andrioli, who was the general at that time, authorized the foundation of a chameleon mission in Brazil. So it will be next year, that will be the 100th year presence of the Brazilian mission. And interestingly, Father Giorgio now will talk about the USA mission. That is actually what the context is. We are celebrating 100 years because it was in 1921 that Father Mueller came to the United States from the German province. Chameleon mission in Asia started in 1946 when 5 missionaries from North Italian province, Lombardo Venetia, went to China and started a leprosarium, a center for the leprosy patients in Yunnan province of China. But because of the Chinese Revolution, they were expelled in 1952, and they moved first to Taiwan and started a hospital there. And then they went to Thailand and opened different communities there. In Taiwan, they had only two mission, the hospital, and then they also had one more mission there. They are still small there, but in Thailand they became very popular. Again, in Thailand also they opened first a leprosarium, and now they have hospitals as well as senior living centers. From Thailand, some of the missionaries went to Philippines in 1975. They opened the mission in the Philippines. They came to India in 1980, and our first house was opened in 1984. And then the Philippine province went to Indonesia in 2000, and they became a delegation in 2011. The Chameleon mission in Africa and America is very, especially the South American countries. The first Chameleon Foundation was, interestingly, in Africa was in 1867. They went there for 10 years, but they had to come back because of political situations again. They just worked there initially for 10 years. Tanzania, the restart of the African mission was with Tanzania with the Dutch province in 1956, followed by the Burkina Faso Foundation, Benin, Kenya, Madagascar, and the latest mission was in Uganda. Actually, at present, the largest provinces of chameleons are Burkina Faso and Benin. They have the large number of vocations actually who constitute the largest number of the members in the order now. In the Americas, the order is present in the United States of America. 1921 we came here, in Mexico, in Haiti, in Colombia, Ecuador, Peru. Peru, we had an interesting history. We had gone in the beginning and then we had to be disconnected from there because of political problems. Now we have restarted that mission again. Chile, Argentina, and Brazil. Brazil started in 1922. So now chameleons are present today in 5 continents. You could have a look at this world map, and all those dark spots are where the chameleons are present. We are also present in Australia. The Philippine province started, the first Australian mission started in Perth with the Irish province. When the Irish province could not continue because of the lack of members, the Indian province helped for some time, but then the Philippine province took over, and now we have a chaplains community in Sydney. We are now present in 37 countries, and we have now 1,116 professed members, including the 51 novices. So this is actually the statistics of the members of the order. We have 37 countries present, 167 houses or communities we call. We have 1,116 members altogether. The breakdown is, we have 1 bishop in Burkina Faso, 826 priests, 98 brothers who are perpetually professed to stay as brothers serving the sick, especially the physical needs of the sick people. We have 140 seminarians who are professed and 51 novices. So a look at the ministries the chameleons are involved today in the world. We have 173 chaplains working across the world in the hospitals. So most of the priests, they work as chaplains in the hospitals or healthcare facilities. We have 92 hospitals, most of them in Brazil. We have 28 in Italy and 10 in Asia and 9 in Africa. We have 115 socio-health centers, we call them in general. Some of them are HIV care centers or facilities where AIDS patients are treated, or hospice care centers, leprosy centers or TB centers. Many recently in the, nowadays we have many centers where the seniors are taken care, like we have our mission here in the US. There are many destitute homes where people cannot afford for any health care. They are abandoned. So we have destitute homes, especially in Africa, in Asia. There are many nutrition centers where children are taken care who are not able to survive. So we have children's homes. And there are many homes for the physically and mentally challenged people, especially children. We have also a few parishes, not very big in the order. We have 51 parishes where chameleons are running those parishes. And another big ministry is the pastoral animation centers. So where we teach healthcare, we animate healthcare. We have also a university in Brazil, but many centers in most of the provinces have at least one pastoral health animation center. So it is not just, we are so far talking about the order of the ministers of the sick, the men congregation, but we have also many, through the life of St. Camillus, inspired by his spirituality, we have other greater family, we call it, of the chameleons who are members. So the greater chameleon family, the first is, of course, the ministers of the sick, founded by St. Camillus. Then we have 4 female congregations. First one was started by Maria Brun Barbandini, the women ministers of the sick. They are known as the ministers of the sick women. Then the daughters of St. Camillus. Then we have the handmaids of the Incarnation. They are mostly in Italy. And Stella Maris, they are in Brazil. It's a small congregation there. Then we have 2 secular institutes. The women missionaries of the sick, they are called the Germanas Samraga, and the Chameleon Sisters in Germany. It is in Austria, and I think in Germany. They are, again, a very small community. And of late, we have started the lay chameleon family. Now, the charism is really spread now through all these offshoots of the greater chameleon family, sharing the same charism, same work that Camillus started. And we usually gather at our general chapter, all of them come together and spend 1 week of our general chapter connecting with each other and sharing that spirituality and charism and working together as the members of the greater chameleon family. So this is actually the sister ministers of the sick of St. Camillus, started by Domenica Brun Barbandini. Daughters of St. Camillus, founded jointly by Giuseppina Vanini and Father Luigi Tessa. Giuseppina Vanini became a saint. Luigi Tessa is still a blessed. And this is the greater work of St. Camillus, now carried through all the lay chameleons in the world. And that is what now we promote a lot more. All those who are engaged in healthcare, if they are interested really to, embody that charism of St. Camillus, we have this great opportunity to become members of the lay chameleon family. Wherever you are, you could join and carry out that mission. We guide you through a formation program. So thank you. And now I leave it to Father Giorgio. Maybe at the end of our sharing and presentation, you could ask us questions or any clarifications you could ask.
Would you mind closing your... Good afternoon. My part is the history of the chameleons in the USA. It's hard to be the third person to make the presentation. I just finished reading a book in the book I learned that writers or speakers should pay attention of not letting your participants spend a lot of time spending their calories understanding what you are presenting. So I'll try to make it easier for you, less calories to spend in following what I have to do after those 2 already very informative presentations. So I would like to give us a short a reflection on the history of the chameleons in the USA. All right. First, I would like to say, who am I? Because I'm originally from the Philippines, but I've been here for almost more than 20 years. So I'm really part of the history of the order here. One time, I went to Dorward's Glen, and in Dorward's Glen, that's where we bury our chameleons, and I could count, I think, 15 members of the order that I've met since I came here. So in some ways, this is already my place, and I'm part of the history of the order here in the US. So there are two parts to my presentation. One is just a slide presentation and then a short video that I will explain later on. So I've been here in the US for almost 20 years. Like Father Pedro and Father Matthew, we wear a lot of hats, different hats. And I know some of you are really interested of knowing us. So we are very active here on campus, which is really the main focus of our ministry here in the US because of the limitation that we have as regards number of religions. I usually use this slide to present why do we have to talk about the history? Why do you have to focus on the history of the order, the centennial celebration? Why do you have to celebrate that one? I found this slide from one theologian who said that all the major religions, one way of attracting followers is to answer three questions. The question of where did we come from, who are we, and where are we going? And if you are a smart pastor, one way really to attract a lot of followers and maybe collect more money from them is to have a very clear understanding of this one. That, for example, where are we going? If you donate your $1 million to me, I will promise you that you will go to heaven. So, but anyway, so this is also a good way to explain why we are celebrating centennial. So because we want to look at the history, our history, where did we come from and who we are at the present. And for the members of the order, we are also want to know where are we going. As you may also know, biblically, this is very applicable. When the chosen people were in the promised land, going to the whole, rather in the desert, going to the promised land, that's where they started to asking where did they come from, and that's where they started to reflect the origin of mankind. So today, I would like us to reflect on where did we come from as a way of defining our identity and also knowing where we are going. Even some theologians say that one way to answer the destination is to be clear of where did we come from. But that's another webinar, I believe. So maybe three things that I would like to share as regards religious life, especially chameleon spirituality. That the chameleon spirituality, there are three components to it: the ministry, our work, community life, and spiritual life. When I was in the seminary, particularly what we call novitiate, that's really the stage before you become an initial member of the order. Our novice master would emphasize that these three areas are like the tripod. You need three. You could not live by just two. Because like a tripod, if you just have two, you will not be able to stand. So this is really the life, important parts of the life of the religious, of the province that I'm trying to explain today, but also the different communities that Father Pedro and Father Matthew had already explained. So we talk about the ministry is to the sick, community life, that's where we live, and spiritual life is really paying attention to the needs of our spirit. So I will be presenting a short video as a way of really capturing the history of the chameleons in the USA. But these are some of the things that we have to clarify before we watch the video. First, the original intention of the video actually was the celebration of the 98th foundation of the order in the US, and then the 400 years of existence of the order in the world. Maybe the second disclaimer, we'll see there Father Pedro when he was a little bit young and the hair was still black. because this was produced actually really to celebrate the 90th foundation. The second thing is that it might be confusing for some. Why is it that we are just celebrating the 90th foundation a few years ago and now we are celebrating the 100 years? So I would like to clarify that the foundation of the order is different from the start of the chameleon presence. Maybe a good example of that is like when you will move into San Camilo, that's really the start of your presence on campus. The foundation might be like after 3 months, when you are already settled, you decided to have a housewarming. So that's really the foundation. So we are really celebrating the coming of the chameleons in the USA, and then a few years after that, it was already in some ways canonically founded. So hopefully that's clear. The other one is the update of the number of religious in the video. There will be a mention in the video regarding the religious that I think there might be just 2 religious chameleons from another country. But right now, the current situation is that we live in a community, I think we are 13, and 8 countries represented. Can you imagine that? I think for some, that's already the challenge. But so far, so good. We are really getting along. And maybe that's where praying together and living as a community that help us to live, although we come from the different parts of the world. And then maybe I will anticipate that this is my reflection and additional information that I would like to add regarding the history of the chameleons in the USA. Number one, it's a challenging and simple beginning. Father Pedro, give me the chronicler, a part of the chronicle. This is the recording of the history of the order, the way they came here. It's really amazing that even when they started a new house, they needed some donation like chairs, tables. It was really an amazing experience that from a simple beginning, now we look back, if we look now at our experience, having these very sophisticated and really advanced facilities that we have here, very different from the way the chameleons started here in the USA. There's a dedication and commitment of the pioneering chameleons. Let us remember that the chameleons who started in the USA, they were Germans. So I would imagine they had to learn the language, they had to learn the culture. Maybe they have to give up eating a lot of sauerkraut. That's a joke. But that's really, if you will read their chronicle, it's really an amazing experience that they had to really work hard to get the money that they needed, because their goal really was to build a hospital. In the chronicle, it's really amazing that I think they have this like a picnic, and there was a raffle draw that they did so that they could really raise funds. And somebody donated a car for the raffle draw, only to find out that the car, it was leaking, the oil was leaking. So they had to give it up. So it's really like, I was really laughing when I read that one, but it speaks of the simple beginning of the chameleons here in the USA. The other one is the success of the order depended on the help and support of the lay people in other religious communities. As I've said in the chronicle, there were school sisters of Notre Dame who donated first maybe the cross or the cover to the altar so that they can celebrate Christmas. And then in the chronicle, there's a mention of a lay woman who really became very instrumental in the development of the communities and even of the building of the first hospital here under the care of the chameleons. Her name is Maria Gertrude Merkelbach. According to the background, she was a realtor. She donated a lot of money, and she also facilitated on how the chameleons bought the lands that I believe is part of where we are right now. So there were ups and downs, but they had always a direction of achieving their goals. So again, based on the chronicle, it was not easy for them, but they were really focused on starting the mission here in the USA. And finally, it's obvious that the early tasks were always intertwined with their trust and reliance on God. So I think that's really a very important part of the history of the order. So I think that's it for me. Now I would like to show the video. Again, this is not the most current video of the order, but it will give us some insights on how the chameleons from Germany started the mission here in USA. What's going on here? Let me see.
In a world of wheelchairs and walkers and funerals, it would seem hard at times to see the glory of God. That is not the case in the United States, where the Order of St. Camillus has been seeing the face of Christ in the sick for more than 90 years through its USA delegation in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in the United States. The challenge is great. We are dedicated more than ever to more hearts in your hands in the United States of America.
Hello, I'm Father Pedro, the provincial delegate of USA Chameleons and also president of the Chameleons entities. As chameleons, we have dedicated our lives to seeing the face of Christ in the sick and the dying. Following the footsteps of St. Camillus has led me to Wisconsin, and I'm very proud to share with you a little bit about who we are and about what we are doing here. Hope you enjoy our story.
The journey to the United States began when Father Michael Miller from our German province traveled to Baraboo, Wisconsin. He was invited there to look at some land, but the area offered to the chameleons was too impractical for a hospital. Instead, in 1921, Father Miller was invited by the Archbishop to build a hospital in the city of Milwaukee. There, a house was purchased and a hospital for elderly and incurable men was built. Our mission in North America began with that hospital, which was quickly filled, and the community soon began construction of a new, more modern hospital. In 1931, we began the construction of what has grown to be our chameleon campus, just on the edge of Milwaukee. The first hospital offered accommodations for 65 men. Today, we have 265 apartments for independent living. In addition, we offer a range of services from assisted living to hospice care for a total of 530 residents. Although our order once prospered here, the number of religious vocations has fallen, and the USA delegation is now under guidance from the Brazilian province. But with a creative and dedicated approach to serving the sick, we remain vibrant and dedicated to carrying on Camillus' work. There was a time when this delegation was a province with a total of around 30 religions, and they worked in different areas and also in different states. Today, we do the same, however, in a reduced number. Some of our religious are spread around as missionaries, serving in Sylvania, Georgia, and in Haiti, and some as chaplains in Boston and Pittsburgh. Most of us are in the Milwaukee area working at St. Camillus. Some of our religious are elderly, retired, or sick. Today, we are 15 religious plus 2 religious as guests that are studying CPE. One is from India and another from Nigeria. We are a very international community.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Father Pedro, Father Jojo, and Father Matthew for a great presentation today. I'm going to check to see if there's any questions submitted. I did see that someone raised their hand, but I didn't see anything in the chat yet, so.
I can compliment something for now. Krista, we could send to all them this booklet. It's about the history of St. Camillus. It's very easy to read, not too long. We have a different biography of St. Camillus, but this is a kind of summary or more simple for initiate, and then for those who like to read some more, we have some more material regarding St. Camillus. We also can send the history of the USA Chameleon delegation. We can send to all of them this booklet that shows the history of the USA Chameleon delegation. It's quite interesting to know. So we can send to you, then you can send to all of them after that. Okay.
Perfect. We also have on our website, it's been mentioned about our 100th year centennial celebration. So we do have that on our website, www.stcam.com. And there's a pop-up that shows up about the 100th celebration that you can click on, read the history, monthly blogs, timeline, and all of that. So if you're interested, take a look at that too. I do see, like I said, a few people raised their hands. So I'm going to allow these participants to ask a question here. Sally, I'm doing you first here.
She's mute.
Are you here, Sally? You might have to unmute yourself. All right, I'm gonna skip to Marilyn.
Okay.
Oh, we've got Sally.
I'm unmuting myself. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we have both Sally and Marilyn. So Sally, why don't you go first with your question?
Sally,
go first.
Okay, you had mentioned something about health animation. What is health animation?
I'll respond that, Krista. You know, in the different countries where we are present, we have an institute or a training center where we train various health related courses, particularly pastoral health focused, you know, like taking care of the whole person. We had an institute like a university in Rome called Camillianum. Now that model is now more bifurcated into different countries. They have centers where lay people and religious and healthcare professionals are given training, sometimes short courses, sometimes a diploma program or a certificate program in healthcare, but mostly focused on pastoral care and pastoral healthcare formation.
Thank you very much.
Looks like Marilyn got off. So I'm gonna double check one more time to see if we have anything in the chat, but I don't think we do. So I think that's all it for questions. I know we have some guests who are returning, some people who are maybe here for the first time. So I just wanted to remind everyone that we are open for tours. We have in-person appointments, we have virtual appointments, we can go out to your homes. But I welcome you to come in and learn a little bit about St. Camillus and what our Lifetime community has to offer. And as a reminder, we have webinars every 2 weeks. So our next webinar is February 4th. And the topic is what happens next. So we'll have our independent living manager, Josh Burrish, and one of our senior living specialists, Jackie Knight, sharing details on our design center, the move-in process, and how we really assist our residents and our families and their family members in preparing for the transition. So if you're interested, you can sign up for that on our website. It'll be available today. Otherwise, I think that's it. Anyone else have any closing remarks or good? All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you then.